What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and this is Ask the Phoenix for June 2014. I'm still sick, like I was last week, so if my voice gives out, I might have to do this video in 2 parts. Let's hope it doesn't happen. A lot of thank yous, lot of thank yous to send out before we do get into the Q&A. As always, you guys, all the loyals to this channel, because every single name I see here on my screen is very recognizable names. The people that interact with me on stuff like this, like the Q&As, like the participation videos, etc., are a lot of the same people a lot of the time. A lot of the same people that have supported this channel for years. So a big thank you to you. And, as I always say, in the comment section of this video will be the questions for July's Q&A. I'm going to put a little bit of a twist on this, though. For the people that have been watching my videos for a long time, I want to know a couple of things. If you want to share, if you don't want to share, that's fine. Toss your questions down. Still great. Tell me how long you've been watching, tell me how you found me, and tell me where you're from. Because I want to know how far my net casts. I mean, I'm here in Canada. If all my viewers are in Canada, great. If I've got viewers in Lower Slovenia, that's even better. The familiar names are the same familiar names I've seen for a lot of years, which is fantastic, which means you guys haven't been bored of me yet. I want to know how long you guys have been watching me, and interestingly enough, I post my videos in a ridiculous amount of places on the web, various places on Facebook, my 2 groups, as well as Tweetov, which I will get to in a moment, as well as Twitter. So I want to know where people are finding me. So if you guys want to share that information with me, and I will include that information in the next Q&A, just because I think it'll be an interesting little tidbit. Now, Facebook, as always, I want to thank the members of my group, The Wrestling Realm, the Breakers, the group that STEPHIE Sunshine and I co-admin, as well as Abel and Sal and Mark and all the other guys in Tweetov, Pro Wrestling is taking over Facebook, who always help me get my vids out, especially the Q&As, because the Q&As seem to be ridiculously popular. As well, as long as my video maker doesn't totally crap out on me, you will see a new graphic specifically for the Q&As. That was done by Sal from Tweetov, and dude, you are the man as far as graphics go. All the graphics that I've put up in the Wrestling Realm, as well as the more recent ones I've used here, have all been done by Sal, which is great. Dave Anderson used to do a lot of graphics for me. His graphics are still found on a lot of my videos. Thank you to him. And on that note, couple quick notes. Because I'm doing this video this week, I'm not really going to do a preview for Money in the Bank. Here's what I will say. Paige is going to retain. The Wyatts are going to win the Tag Team Championships, and whoever wins the Money in the Bank match is going to cash in on whoever wins the title match. So, whoever wins the Money in the Bank match, I think, is going to walk out as champion. And those are the only 4 matches we have announced so far. So, and I'm thinking it's going to be Rollins or Ambrose. Matt Angel says, I don't know if this is a question or not, so I don't really know how to answer. Great vids, I agree with you on tons of the things that you say, and which is good, because now wrestling fans have changed, in my opinion. Wrestling fans change constantly. I don't know particularly what context you're talking about there, so I can't really say. Everybody does their shit differently, and every group of people does their shit differently. As far as the wrestling community as a whole changing, I think it's just on any given day what group's voice is the loudest. I don't think there's any drastic shift in the way wrestling fans do things. It's just, okay, the Daniel Bryan fans are pissed off over here, or the ROH fans are firing up, and I'll get to ROH later on, trust me, and Alex and Preston will love it, I'm sure. But yeah, I don't think there's been a drastic paradigm shift in wrestling fans in the past little while. I think it's just, as I say, pop up on a Monday, this group is really, really loud. So this is what this looks like. It's the whole wrestling community, and then tomorrow it looks like the entire wrestling community has changed their mind because this group is louder. And that's just how it's going to be. You're never going to get one group that's going to be the loudest and get all the attention all the time. So the wrestling community is always going to seem very fluid. Ugh. As usual, my sinuses are fucked, and you guys get to deal with that. I'm sorry. Logan Claiborne says, fantasy book Bray Wyatt versus Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins versus a returning Jeff Hardy. Bray Wyatt, Dean Ambrose, the promos would be ridiculous. all you would need would be Bray Wyatt to come in like he did with Cena. Celebrate when Cena fails. Celebrate that the Shield has failed. Celebrate that the remaining members of the Shield failed to stay together as a cohesive unit because Rollins left. Try to imply that the two remaining face members of the former Shield are weaker for it, and Rollins was the strong one going forward. Ambrose takes offense to it. He cuts promos on Wyatt. There's a 3-on-1 or 3-on-2 advantage if Roman Reigns decides to help him. They jump each other for a while. They both get crazier and crazier and crazier. They have some ridiculous stipulation match at a pay-per-view. Rollins is interesting because Rollins is high-flying, exciting, pop the eyeballs type offense, which is not going to happen so much as a heel, unless he makes a point of proving that he can out high-fly and out-excite all the current babyfaces on the roster. Like, if he's going up against a Sin Cara or a Rey Mysterio or Justin Gabriel or I don't know, whoever else you can mention that's an exciting, high-flying, high-energy guy, prove that he can outdo them and be an asshole about it, and then cut a promo randomly, I'm the most exciting, I'm the best high flyer, I can pop the eyeballs better than anybody else in the wrestling world, cue Jeff Hardy's music, and then we're off to the races. Great question. Two great matches. I mean, a lot of people that have been watching these videos, as I say, for a long time, so I don't know whether that brought about your question or not. Seth Rollins sort of took over that Jeff Hardy part of my fandom as far as WWE goes, because I see a lot, like, people say they see a lot of CM Punk in Seth Rollins. I was like, no, 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 no. As much as I do see their point, I see a lot more Jeff Hardy. Logan Claiborne says, "What do you think of the following idea for a future Money in the Bank pay-per-views? A 6-man NXT Money in the Bank contract challenge for the Intercontinental Championship, just like the main event, except the prize would be a match against the Intercontinental Champion." I like it. The only problem that I have is it feeds into that constant fear of somebody debuting and winning a match or winning a title in their first match, which is not always great. You take a look at anybody that's won a title on their opening night, you know, anybody that's been hot-shotted to a title, say a Sheamus, for example. I'm going to tweak your idea just a little bit. Wait for the next NXT pay-per-view. Get two guys that have been former champions, like, I don't know, Neville and somebody. Have them both cut identical promos about how they've done everything they can do in NXT. It's their time to ascend, it's their time to move up, etc. Have JBL come down and say, look guys, the main event roster on Raw and SmackDown is packed, there's only room for one of you. Have a ladder match for that Raw contract on the next NXT pay-per-view. Have them climb the ladder, climb the metaphorical ladder anyway, into the Raw roster that way. I can see that working quite well. I don't want there to be a whole lot. I mean, the Royal Rumble with Rusev and the Royal Rumble with Bo Dallas was an exception because it's a one-off, or they're debuting that way, but I don't think there should be entire NXT matches on pay-per-views. I used to think there should have been, and then I rethought it. But if you want to have a ladder match and have that be their ticket to the main event, or to the main roster, absolutely. I just don't think that necessarily needs to go hand in hand with the Intercontinental Championship. The way you explain it, by far, could be spectacular, and it could be a great boost for somebody if it was used properly. I hesitate to say, hey, welcome to the company, here's a title. Because if they flop, it hurts the championship, etc. If they just say, hey, they were the big fish in the small pond and now they've moved up into the ocean because they won this ladder match and they won a contract, I think that works a lot better. I like your idea. I hope you don't mind that I tweaked it a little. That's all I can say. Laurel Lewis, would you rather see Mickie James go into the Hall of Fame next year or have a dream match with AJ Lee? My answer is going to be a dream match with AJ Lee, because if she did the dream match with AJ Lee, they could both be Psycho. They've both played Psycho in the past, and there's nothing to say that Mickie James couldn't go into the Hall of Fame later on down the line, the year after, or the year after, or the year after. This might be a tough one, but how would you book this match? AJ Lee versus Caitlyn versus Trish Stratus versus Lita versus Paige versus Mickie James. Holy shit. One-handed, for one thing. I would have it that AJ Lee comes back to Raw to have her rematch for the championship with Paige. Caitlyn comes back and says, hey, AJ, you've got some unfinished business with me. The three of them start squabbling. Now you've got Lita and Trish Stratus and Mickie James, who in their own time could have had the exact same squabble, and they come out, you know, arm in arm, showing a lot of unity and be like, hey, why don't you learn from our mistakes? Why don't you go on and be a progressive, competitive, respectful roster rather than bickering like we used to? And then they would each, in their own way, try to mentor the new girls, but then they would disagree on how to mentor the new girls, and their old rivalries would flare up, and you would have these three here fighting, these three here fighting, but you would also have an element of the old school versus new school, them resenting these older stars telling them what to do, and the older stars resenting the rejection of their guidance. So you would have two groups of three that want to kill each other individually, and two groups of three that also want to go to war. At some point along the way, Trish Stratus or Lita or Mickie James would mention the prestige of the real women's championship. One of them would bring it back at some point. I hope it would be Lita, just because she's my favorite women's champion of all time. But Paige would obviously be there with the current Divas Championship, and both titles would be thrown into the mix. You would have a unified WWE Women's Championship and get rid of the butterfly belt, for the love of God. Fantastic match. Laurel Lewis says, this is not wrestling related, but do you have any bands that you would recommend for me to listen to? I don't listen to a lot of obscure stuff, to be perfectly honest with you. As you guys know, as I've mentioned before, I listen to a lot of Metallica, Linkin Park, Limp Bizkit. I'm trying to think. I was actually at my buddy's birthday last night and we were doing karaoke, so I'm trying to think of some stuff that we did there. Sang some Journey the other night. Got together with another friend of mine and got up there and did a absolutely tremendously horrible rendition of Don't Stop Believing, which would make your ears bleed. Stuff that people may not necessarily have heard of. Look up Spirit of the West, Inner City Surfers, Hailstorm. Surprising number of people don't know who Hailstorm is. Go check them out. Lizzie Hale's voice will set your ears on fire in the best way possible. Also, Taylor Momsen and the rest of the Pretty Reckless are fantastic. Like I say, always fall back on something old like Metallica. Hailstorm I've used a lot of on these channels, so if you start listening to Hailstorm, you'll recognize some of the stuff in this video. Disturbed, always good. Linkin Park, I have yet to hear a bad song from. I know some people have fallen out of favor with them in the past little while. Go get their new album, The Hunting Party, that just came out this week. It's back to the old school Linkin Park rock style if you want to listen to some Linkin Park. There you go. I don't listen to really obscure stuff, so if you're asking me in the hopes that I'll lift up some rock and pull up some obscure stone that nobody's ever heard of, I'm not really that guy, so I hope I'm not disappointing you in that way, but it is what it is. Do you think Naomi will be... This is still... Oh, this is a bunch from Laurel Lewis now. Do you think Naomi will become a Divas champion eventually? I think yes. But I think she needs to split with the Funkadactyl, split with Cameron, who's absolutely useless, have one or two matches with her, kick her to the curb, establish herself as the Shawn Michaels as opposed to the Marty Jannetty of that team, and then go off and have what she's already been having with Paige, which is just amazing matches, and if she wins, then she wins. What is your opinion of the Layla Summer Rae feud? It's fun. It's something that isn't totally depending on Total Divas and isn't totally depending on the championship either. It's a feud unto itself, and Fandango sitting there just being awkward and stuck in the middle is comic gold as far as I'm concerned. Do you think Eva Marie or Cameron should have been released over Oksana even though they're on Total Divas? I think all three of them are useless. Oksana can't wrestle. Didn't Oksana break somebody's eye socket a while ago? Eva Marie I've only seen wrestle once or twice, and Cameron is Cameron. She's the Jannetty of the Funkadactyls. If you had to... Oh, fantastic. If you had to team up with a superstar to go up against Alexman and Daniel Bryan, who would it be and why? Once again, I hope you don't mind, I'm going to expand on this. I'm going to create a team over here with Delexman and Mark Pearson and The Rock and Daniel Bryan. On my side, I'm going to draft myself, Wrestling Jesus, CM Punk, and Jeff Hardy. Oh yes, and we are going to own shop. And Delexman can go and cry to his students about it in the morning. It will be fantastic. Create a Divas version of one of these stables. The NWO, DX, the Shield, Evolution, or the Four Horsemen. I will choose Evolution. I will say Evolution female version would be Luna Vachon, Lita, AJ Lee, and Paige. There we go. How would you... Okay, three questions that are kind of similar. How would you debut Charlotte on the main roster, Sami Zayn on the main roster, and Adrian Neville on the main roster? Charlotte and Sami Zayn, I wouldn't have them have some big explosive sort of entrance like say the Shield had, because you can't do that all the time. I would just have, you know, a couple video packages. Hey, we've got this new person coming up in 3 weeks, in 2 weeks, in 1 weekend. Debut them. Have them have a regular, ordinary debut match. Put Charlotte up against somebody like Summer Rae that we know she can have a good match with. Put Sami Zayn up against somebody that would complement him, like a Sin Cara, or if he's healthy, and I'm not even taking a dig, somebody like a Rey Mysterio. Adrian Neville, on the other hand, I would have a lot of fun with that because his style is a lot of fun, and I've always advocated that they need to break the Cruiserweight Championship. So what I would do is I would set up a pay-per-view at which there would be a gauntlet match to establish a brand new Cruiserweight champion. And going back to my previous idea about the NXT ladder match, I would say the NXT ladder match comes with not only a Raw contract, but you will be inserted into said gauntlet match at the next pay-per-view, and have Adrian Neville possibly not necessarily win, but be in contention with other people that are in contention for that Cruiserweight Championship. I think he could do fantastic work there. If you had to book the debut of Divas Tag Team titles, how would you book it? I don't know. I can't even really answer that, because there would have to be a heck of a lot of a stronger Divas division before I would even think about having a Divas Tag Team division. A while ago, when you had the Bellas, when you had the what did Beth Phoenix and Natalya call themselves? I don't remember. The Divas of Doom. When Kelly and Eve were a constant team. If AJ was around, AJ and Tamina could be a team. There was a period of time where all the divas had kind of paired off. If the Funkadactyls weren't currently feuding, I could do it that way. But most of those partnerships or friendships over to have either dissipated or the people have left. So I can't even really answer that question at this point. If the WWE World Heavyweight Championship should ever be split into 2 titles again, how would you book a storyline building up to it, and should it happen? That's from T-Rex 1028. The only way you could really do it is if it was in a ladder match, and that bracket that holds both belts fell apart and each guy grabbed one, and they would just bicker over, you know, oh, I got the bracket and the belt, which means I really won, or some bullshit. Like, the bracket that they used to hold those 2 belts looks dumb, by the way. It looks like a fishhook. How would you rebook Seth Rollins' betrayal of the Shield? I would have done it. I would have let that tag team match actually go on, rather than just Triple H standing on the rampway being like, ha ha ha, your buddy's about to turn on you. I would have had it come out, the Evolution would have looked all pissed off because they didn't have a partner. Ambrose would have, you know, Ambrose and Orton, say, would have went at it for a little bit. Ambrose would have gone for the tag. Rollins would have had something behind his back, and instead of reaching out his hand to tag, Ambrose would have clocked him with a set of brass knucks or like a small chain or something like that. And he would have, in fact, gone over to the Evolution team, or the Evolution corner, and tagged himself in. Much like Ted DiBiase Jr. did when he turned on Hardcore Holly and joined up with Cody Rhodes, if people remember the original forming of Team Priceless. I would have done something very, very similar with Evolution and The Shield. When should John Cena win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship? How should he win it, and who should he face? He shouldn't, and he shouldn't, and he shouldn't. At this point, there's no need for John Cena to hold the championship. Period. And I'm not... This is going to be hard for me to say and hard for people to take seriously. I'm not even saying that anymore because I don't like Cena. He doesn't do anything for the belts, and the belts don't do anything for him. So what is the point? Okay. Job 2, Team With or Bury, the Shield edition. I'm guessing this was before the Shield broke up. And these next few questions are all from T-Rex 1028. I would job to Seth Rollins, no problem. I would team with Ambrose, and I would bury Roman Reigns, just not because I hate the guy, but because he would come back in a week and be booked strong anyway. How would you book a WWE rivalry between myself and Alexman? I would say pretty much what what's happened here on YouTube. I would speak the truth. He would cry about it. I would laugh at him. We would have a match. He would run away like a bitch. And that would be it. I would win by countout. Favorite pay-per-view of 2004? I don't know. I hate to say this, but I'm not Mark Pearson. I'm not the guy that does the 10 years ago series. You want to see wrestling? You want to see pay-per-views from 10 years ago? Go watch Mark Pearson. This is not even somebody I want to plug, but I live in the now. I don't live in the past. Yes, where does the Zohan get all his questions from? Now that's an interesting question, because you're asking me when you should be asking the Zohan. So I will ask on your behalf, T-Rex, Zohan, where do you get all your questions from? Do you honestly believe that the Roman Reigns character could survive in singles competition? Yeah. Yeah, I do. Roman Reigns, he's got all the things that WWE likes. He's, you know, the ladies think he's hot, and the kids think he's big and impressive. He's built like a brick shithouse. He can believably go in there and destroy people. He's related to The Rock. They will address that at some point, I'm sure, if the fans start losing faith in him. I'm not saying he's the greatest wrestler in the world, but as far as what the WWE wants a star to be, he's kind of got the whole package. From this point forward, how can Daniel Bryan's character and championship reign work for me? Really, honestly, taking all the arrogance out of my voice that I can, WWE, you have a great talent in Daniel Bryan. You don't have to try with him as much as you try with guys like Cena and Sheamus and whatever. We will appreciate him naturally. We know what he's good at naturally. We know that he is good naturally. You don't have to book some Superman bullshit where he beats 3 guys twice the size of him in one night. You just... I don't begrudge Daniel Bryan's success. I don't begrudge Daniel Bryan a championship run. What I begrudge is WWE thinking that Daniel Bryan needs their help. And that's what WrestleMania ranked of to me. Daniel Bryan, yes, I will agree with certain people. Daniel Bryan should have won the Royal Rumble. There we go. Daniel Bryan should have won the Royal Rumble. He didn't. Therefore, he didn't deserve a title shot, in my personal opinion. But he should have won the title, or he should have won the title shot at the Royal Rumble. He should have, you know, had some sort of filler thing at the Elimination Chamber, and he should have gone to WrestleMania one-on-one and beaten Randy Orton. That would be a great story for Daniel Bryan. Not this, I'm going to beat up my boss, and I'm going to make his wife look stupid, and I'm going to have my arm broken, and then I'm going to go and beat 2 more guys because I'm just that super. It wasn't necessary, and it was bullshit. And I'm sorry, I'm not turning this into an anti-Bryan video, but you cannot deny that in that one night, Daniel Bryan was more Cena than Cena. Yes, John Cena that night, some people might say, buried Bray Wyatt, even though Bray Wyatt looked like, you know, bomb.com in that match. But Daniel Bryan cakewalked through Triple H, Randy Orton, and Batista. 3 guys who, whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not, are 3 future inductees into the WWE Hall of Fame. Either individually, in the case of Triple H, or collectively as Evolution. Those 3 guys are going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. It's going to happen. They are going to wear that ring, whether you like it or not. And Daniel Bryan cakewalked over 3 Hall of Famers in one night. It wasn't necessary. It just wasn't. And I've lost my place. Is saving Great Khali's character even a thing? No. What is Great Khali's character? He's a big, awkward guy that can't wrestle or speak. So no. How can John Cena's Superman gimmick work for the average Cena hater? The only way it will work for the Cena hater is if, and I'm not saying I care about Cena turning heel, but if he ever does turn heel, he has to acknowledge at some point, I am tired of this childish bullshit. I only did it to get ahead. If that, even a shred of that happens, I will give Cena another chance. Cena, for all I don't like about him, has done okay this year. I mean, like, yes, he's still, like, jacked up in the title picture, yada, yada, yada. But although he won, and although his wins were goofy looking, he did stand toe-to-toe with Bray Wyatt and make Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family look like an imposing force. I will say that much. Now, was it executed great? Not necessarily. But did Bray Wyatt look effective? Yes. So I have to give John Cena credit in that regard. Okay, Snake Bit Goat. Now, the fact that I'm a Randy Orton fan and I'm not exactly a fan of Daniel Bryan at this point, I love the name, dude. I just have to say, is it anything to do with the Orton-Bryan rivalry? I want to know. Snake Bit Goat, is that what your name is about, or am I totally off the mark there? Put it in the comment section below or something like that. I know you say you don't like the indies. May I ask why? Especially seeing as a lot of people view indie wrestling far better than most TNA and WWE. Again, somebody that's been paying attention, I'm a huge fan of women's wrestling, which I think is greatly underappreciated in this day and age, and it's not put out there very well by WWE. TNA was doing it well for a while, and they've kind of fallen off recently because their roster is this big, and they're going to fail on their ass. As much of a wrestling fan as I am, I'm lazy. I watch WWE and TNA because they're easily accessible at my fingertips and they're easy to digest. I watch wrestling and I'm very active about wrestling. I'm very active about my opinions in wrestling, but I'm not very active about seeking it out. I can turn on my computer or I can turn on my TV and WWE and TNA are right there. I haven't sought the other stuff out because I don't feel like going on one of those needle in a haystack things. That, and because I like WWE and I like to consume about as much of it as I can, I spend a lot of my time watching wrestling, guys. I do still watch TNA. I don't talk about it very much on here because there's guys there that I like, but there's not much to talk about. I gave ROH a chance this past weekend, which I'm going to talk about, I'm sure, later on down the line. WWE, it's the big leagues. The other half of it being is that when somebody does make it up from, CZW or from Japan or from IWGP or, series is down in Mexico or ROH and whatever, when they make it to WWE and everybody's all excited about it, I've heard the hype from the people that have seen them in their smaller companies, but they are still new to me, and I like that. If you've got somebody like a Daniel Bryan, for example, and I'm not saying this is a nitpick, I'm just saying this, there are people that have followed Daniel Bryan since before ROH. So you knew what Daniel Bryan could do long before he got to the WWE. When Daniel Bryan first hit my screen in the WWE, he was brand new, and I got to say at that point, well, all these other people have already been watching him for years, and he's not new anymore. This is a star that's still brand new to me, and I like that. It's why I hesitated, and I mean I watch NXT every week now, but it's why I hesitated to start watching NXT, because I want to see somebody when they reach the actual WWE level, and I want to see them with new eyes. When they first have their first match on Raw, it is day one for them, and I always held that opinion. Now, am I kind of going back on that because I watch a lot of NXT? Yes, but I still say, no matter what you did in ROH, TNA, NXT, CZW, IWGP, New Japan, All Japan, like I say, the series is down in Mexico, for those of you that follow shit rest, like Mark Pearson. Whatever you've done, wherever you've been, when you come to WWE, it is day one. And the fact that I can look at people that other people are already excited about with a brand new, fresh set of eyes and say, look, they might know you. I don't know you yet. This is your day one. Impress me. That is why. I will totally admit, I probably should check out indies, especially, as you say, for the women's wrestling, because I really do. I would rather see a properly laid out and properly executed women's match than what Vince McMahon thinks I want to watch, which is two blonde bimbos pulling each other's hair out. See Kelly fans like Preston. It's just a thing. What are your thoughts on Desmond Wolfe, aka Nigel McGuinness, in TNA? Solid in the ring, tough enough looking guy. He's somebody with an accent that I wasn't bothered. There's a lot of people that have accents, especially from Ireland or the UK or Scotland or Mexico or Japan or sometimes an accent can really, really throw off your ability to enjoy a promo or a speaking part or a commentary bit or whatever. Nigel McGuinness or Desmond Wolfe or whatever name he's going by these days, I think it's Nigel McGuinness, if I'm not mistaken, was one of those guys that even though he has a very distinguishable accent, I could still enjoy his promos and his speaking work. I wish I could have seen more of him, honestly, because from my memory of him in TNA, he wasn't there that long. And I'd much rather, from what I do remember, I'd much rather see him than Magnus, because Magnus is kind of shit. His buddy Bram's been there like a month, and I'm already more interested in him than... Yeah, that's a thing. Abel Herrera, one of my biggest supporters, and Mr. Puitov, who always makes a point of getting the other people in his group to add to my Q&As, who always makes a point of throwing me a ton of questions himself. Shout out to him. Everybody, the link to Puitov is in the description box of every single video I do. I sincerely suggest you go check it out. Abel's a good guy. Everybody in the group is great. As I said, Sal from that group does my graphics and stuff. Bunch of great people. Thank you guys. You guys are great. And Abel has 20 questions. Do you think Seth Rollins will have a lot of success as a heel, or would he be a more successful babyface? I think he would be a more successful babyface, and that's why he's going to work as a heel. Everybody predicted when the Shield broke up that no matter what Reigns did or no matter what Ambrose did, Rollins would be the one that would break away and be the solid babyface that everybody would love. Again, that whole Jeff Hardy factor. Now, the fact that he's that likable, the fact that we were so sure he was going to be the good guy, the kayfabe disappointment of that element that he's going to bring going forward, where people are going to want to cheer for him and want to get behind him and want to enjoy his offense, but in the back of our minds we're like, this douchebag turned on us, this douchebag sold his soul to Triple H, but he's so good. I think that is our disappointment that he's not a face is going to make him a fantastic heel. I don't like... And this is the other thing, too, with the Shield. We all debated who was going to change their ring attire. It looks like Roman Reigns is going to keep the Shield music and keep the Shield attire, which is kind of weird. Dean Ambrose has gone to more of a Street Fighter type look, which suits him down to the ground. And they've kind of got Seth Rollins dressed up like Discount Batman. I don't get that. Doesn't take anything away from the fact that the guy's fantastic in the ring. He's getting a lot better on the microphone. I was worried about him on the mic because Ambrose was the talker in the Shield. Rollins tried. He put in a solid effort, but I was worried about him and his promo skills going forward as a solo guy. I mean, his first feud is clearly going to be against Ambrose, and Ambrose is going to obliterate him on the mic, and that's just, it is what it is. But Rollins is already doing fantastic. That evil smirk, that evil, arm in arm with the devil, so to speak, it's kind of like, and it's not nearly as impactful, I know, but we all remember WrestleMania 17 when Austin turned on everybody, including the fans, and joined Vince McMahon. And Jim Ross, with that famous line, we'll all remember tonight as the night that Steve Austin sold his soul to the devil. And a lot of people are comparing Rollins, and I've heard this, and I'm not saying that I agree 100%, but I know where the thought is coming from. They are comparing Rollins turning on the Shield and joining up with Triple H to that. Coincidentally, somebody sent me a link to WWE Auction. They are auctioning off the busted chair that Seth Rollins used to beat down his former Shield mates when he turned on them, that he's signed, and he's given to, like, he signed it in silver or whatever the hell he did, and it's going up on WWE Auction. It's auctioning currently for $800. Somebody out there is willing to pay $800 for this chair that Seth Rollins wrapped around Roman Reigns' back. So it is a thing, and I think it's going to be great. What are your thoughts on Paige's Divas Championship run so far? I like it. She's different. She's got a different look. Again, I'm going to put her in the Desmond Wolfe category. She has a very distinct accent and way of speaking that's a little different from everybody else, but it makes her stand out, and it makes you pick up your ears when she does say something, which isn't a lot. She doesn't have a definite feud. She doesn't have a definite enemy right now because AJ is obviously not in the picture, but it's allowing her to slowly develop a character, let the crowd get used to what she can do in the ring, get used to what her style is, because she has a pretty aggressive style for a small person. And I think just keeping on having these random matches that are just there for the purpose of showcasing what she can do, by the time AJ comes back or there's a legitimate feuding competitor that comes along, the crowd is going to know enough and respect enough about Paige to get behind her, and she's going to be a big, big, big thing. What are your top 5? Okay, I'm reading these out of order. What are your top 5 matches of the year so far? In no particular order. Bray Wyatt versus Cena at WrestleMania, I liked. And yes, I know it's a Cena match. Bray Wyatt versus Daniel Bryan at the Royal Rumble. Both of the inaugural Shield versus Wyatt's match, the second elimination match between Evolution and the Shield, and I don't know what my fifth one would be. I really don't. I guarantee one of the ladder matches this Sunday will probably take that fifth spot, at least for now. Are you a Bo Lever yet? I look at Bo Dallas as a walking, talking mockery of John Cena, and that does my heart good. And you know what? No matter what else they try to make him, the fact that that's what he is to me, with his over-the-top like bullshit motivational promos and shit, is great. And you know, he's not that bad in the, like, they're not really letting him show it very much right now because he's kind of winning by cowardly means, and the Bodog is a really stupid move. But I think he's getting under the crowd's skin just the right way, that he's going to hold his own for a while. Why do you think Dolph Ziggler has never really been a proper push? He seems to have a lot of natural charisma, he can cut promos, he has a good look, and he can go in the ring, yet WWE has never really given him a proper push. Honestly, and this is total speculation on my part, Dolph Ziggler, with the proper push behind him, could be bigger than Cena. And as far as WWE is concerned, nobody's bigger than Cena. I think that, combined with the fact that, you know, the history of concussions and and stuff like that, half of it is they don't want to put a title on a guy that could walk away with another concussion. Half of it is they don't want to push a guy that is already potentially better than John Cena. In 5 years, who do you think will be the top babyface and who do you think will be the top heel in the WWE? Potentially? Face, Roman. Heel, Ambrose or Wyatt. Was Charlotte versus Natalya at NXT TakeOver the best women's match in years? No. It was a fantastic match. And overall, the NXT Divas matches get more time. They get to do more. They get to showcase more because it is the the developmental territory, and they are actually developing their skills in the ring. But I think at the same time, a lot of people are over pushing it, just because they're on that I'm going to push anything but WWE. So they push ROH, NXT, and TNA. Which is funny because they don't realize that by pushing NXT, they are pushing WWE, because NXT is a WWE product, but people are like, well, I'm not really pushing WWE, I'm pushing NXT. Well, you know, where do you think all those guys are going and girls are going? Fantastic match. I'm not going to take anything away from either guy, or either girl, rather. I don't care about either one of them, so for me, the investment isn't there. Technically, it was great. I think adding Bret Hart and Ric Flair to the situation could have been overbooked to hell, and it wasn't, and the show of respect between everybody involved after the match was fantastic. That was a great moment. If you want to talk about some of the greatest moments of the year so far, I think that could have been one of the greatest, like the respect being shown between the Hart family and the Flair family, I thought was absolutely fantastic. But best match? No. What are some gimmick matches we should see less of, and what are some gimmick matches we should see more of? I would love to see less thought put into the gimmick matches, honestly. If you've got two guys that want to kick the shit out of each other, give them a no-rules match. It's simple. You know, do whatever your heart desires. Do whatever your creativity can come up with. Don't give them... if I never see another stretcher match, I'll be fine. There we go. Stretcher matches, ambulance matches. Get rid of them, because they're retarded. And I'm sorry, I shouldn't be using the word retarded. I've been told that multiple times now. But they're ridiculous. How about that? So, less stretcher matches, less ambulance matches, less stupid matches with the divas. Book feuds. Book rivalries. You don't even necessarily have to be booking rivalries over the championship. Look at what Layla and Summer Rae are doing right now. Don't book matches where there's 25 girls in the ring at once just because you think that's what a bunch of male fans with hard-ons want to see. And don't book stupid shit like we saw on Raw. Two women that aren't wrestlers throwing each other in the mud when it really looked like pudding or something. That's what we need to see and what we need to not see. What would you do with Evan Bourne if he ever comes back? Well, he just got released, so yeah. I would have teamed him up with either Tyson Kidd or Justin Gabriel or Kofi Kingston again. That's what you have to do with all these little guys, is put them into tag teams, because there is no cruiserweight division, which is really, really sad. Especially if you look at a lot of the exciting guys coming up in NXT right now, you're going to have a lot of smaller guys that are, I'm sorry, I'm going to go back to the Rey Mysterio argument. Rey Mysterio holding a heavyweight championship was bullshit. I'm just saying. It is now the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Are they going to put it on Sin Cara? As much as I like the guy, are they going to put it on Adrian Neville, Corey Graves? Are they going to put a WWE World Heavyweight Championship on Kalisto or Justin Gabriel? No. Evan Bourne, if he was in the company? No. Kofi Kingston is not a main eventer. Sorry, Alex. It's not going to happen. What do you see? How far do you see Rusev going in the WWE? Rusev, I said in the last Q&A, is successfully what WWE thought the Great Khali was going to be. Big, scary, imposing, non-American. That's what it's going to be. So when you've got a big babyface who needs to get over with the crowd, he's going to come out there with the red, white, and blue, and he's going to beat Rusev. And Lana's going to get pissed. And people are still going to be under the delusion that she's hot, when we have perfectly hot women like Layla and AJ and Summer Rae. Michelle McCool's apparently coming back. Mrs. Taker, whatever. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock. Who was better in the ring, on the mic, and who had more charisma? Ooh, there's one that could divide the YWC right down the center, isn't it? Better in the ring, I'm going to say Austin. Because of this, The Rock tried to incorporate a lot of moves into his moveset that were fluid. The float over DDT, I had a couple of these examples. The few submissions that he did, the jacked up spinebuster, but he moved very robotically. This is the only problem I ever had with The Rock. I love The Rock as a character, as a main eventer, as a larger than life spectacle on my TV screen. The Rock was great, and he was great in the ring, but he was very robotic. He had a lot of similarities to Booker T in the ring. His movements were very robotic, and it became more obviously robotic when he tried to do moves that were supposed to appear as fluid. So I will say Austin was better in the ring, because Austin was a brawler, and he knew he was a brawler, and he brawled like a brawler. Who's a better talker? Depends on whether you wanted to hear somebody that was pissed off or somebody that was trying to be funny, because they were both in that regard. Who had more charisma? I gotta say Austin, only because he tapped into the crowd a lot better than The Rock did. Who from NXT are you most excited to see get called up to the main roster? Corey Graves. I think that character, Corey Graves, I could see feuding with Ambrose. And, again, it's one of those, like, they could cut some great promo and then they could have a killer match. Like, these are the guys that you send out there and say, okay, guys, you got 10 minutes, you got no rules, go, let's see what you can do. Should WWE hire more midgets? Now, it depends. It really does depend. If they're going to keep doing silly stuff with them, like Hornswoggle and, teaming up with the Great Khali and hanging out with Natty and all the bullshit, then no. If they want to do some halfway decent shit, like they've been doing with Hornswoggle and El Torito, which, some people might say it was silly, and yeah, they went overboard with the midget commentators and the midget announcers and the midget referee and all that shit, which I thought was really, really disrespectful, if you want my honest opinion. But if they wanted to go more legit with it and have sort of a little midget division, they've done it before. They could do it again. And the last time they had a midget division, Sonny was the referee for that division, and I would be okay with that too. What's the best way to repackage Damian Sandow and give him credibility again? Have him come out in one of these stupid gimmicks that he's been doing, like the Abraham Lincoln gimmick that he did just this past week on Raw. Have him be in the middle of his joking, hey, I'm Honest Abe Sandow, da-da, and then just stop, throw down the costume, and cut a pipe bomb on the bullshit that it takes in the bullshit that it takes in the current WWE childlike product to get some time on TV. Have him get pissed off. Have him, whoever he's supposed to have his joke of a match with, like, with the gimmicks that he's been doing right now, I wouldn't be surprised if they put him up against Santino Marella. Be like, I'm not being another puppet for them anymore. Have him throw the referee out of the ring and have him beat the living shit out of Ryder or Sandow, or Ryder or Santino or somebody like that, and just be like, no, I'm not doing it anymore. this is how good I am, and I'm not going to shield it anymore. You wouldn't have to repackage him necessarily, just have him drop the shit that he's doing right now in a violent way. There's been a lot of talk of Paul Heyman guys, but what if there was a Paul Heyman girl? Who do you think would be a good fit to be a Paul Heyman girl? Up until recently, I would have said Paige, but Paige doesn't need it. Right now, if she was to come back, Caitlyn. Caitlyn was never the best on the microphone, but she was imposing in the ring in her own way, and if you put somebody like Heyman behind her, that could be fantastic. What's your favorite entrance theme currently and of all time? Currently has got to be Bray Wyatt, because almost every other, I should say, because I'm going to reference the other exception in a second, almost every entrance in the WWE is meant to jazz you up, is meant to pull you up out of your seats, is meant to get your pulse going, your race going. The creepy thing about Bray Wyatt is his is very calm and surreal. And, you know, if you've ever had a friend that, like, rather than yelling and screaming at you when they're angry, they just stop talking, that, like, ear-shattering silence type thing, that's the element that Bray Wyatt brings, because he's very calm, and he saunters to the ring, and he's got that even if he's totally pissed off, even if he's about to rip your head off and spit down your throat, he's coming down to the ring calm to do it. He's got his hat and his shirt on, he's dragging the rocking chair behind him, and he'll always have some kind of calm, wide-eyed smile on his face, and that's when you need to be scared. Just like that friend that's pissed off at you, but won't tell you. Of all time, very, very similarly, The Undertaker. The Undertaker, the way The Undertaker enters the ring set the base for what Bray Wyatt does now. It's just true. It's just true. Did the John Cena feud hurt Bray Wyatt? I'm going to say no, because yes, the win-loss record and how the matches actually went down took away Bray Wyatt's credibility in the main event, but I think the fans are realistic enough these days to know that he wasn't going to clean sweep John Cena. So that didn't surprise anybody, so that didn't get a chance to disappoint anybody. Where I think it helped him is that the wins that he got in these matches were so bullshit, like most John Cena wins are, that he got the same thing that everybody else that fights John Cena gets. The whiplash effect of, we're already behind this guy, now he's fighting John Cena, now anybody that wasn't already behind him is behind him now. Because not only do we hate Cena, not only do we like Wyatt, not only are those two elements coming together, but those those losses were bullshit. It's very, very, very similar effect to when Sheamus, who I ironically called the ginger Irish John Cena, got the 18-second victory over Daniel Bryan. It was such a bullshit victory that anybody that wasn't in Camp Bryan at the time was after those 18 seconds were up. Same exact thing is happening for Wyatt. In the short term, has his credibility taken a blow? Absolutely. But in the long term, because it's shown the trials and struggles that the man behind the character is going through in the WWE, we pity him for being teamed up with John Cena, because he's going to get bullshit losses like that. So we are sympathetically and non-kayfabe wise drawn more to him, which can't help but cross over into kayfabe when we get behind everything that he's saying in his promos, all the truth that the Eater of Worlds is spitting every time he grabs a microphone and cuts a promo on John Cena or anybody like him. So, did the feud with John Cena hurt Bray Wyatt? In the short term, yes, but in the long term, I think, ultimately, like out there in the universe, so to speak, this feud with John Cena did what it needed to do for Bray Wyatt. That's a really rambling answer for that one, and I'm really sorry, but I hope I got my my point across. What is your absolute favorite Shawn Michaels match? That's just unfair. That's just unfair. Immediately, I think Shawn Michaels versus Jeff Hardy. Immediately, I think the ladder match at WrestleMania 10. Immediately, I think anything he did either with or against Triple H. I think of his feud with Bret Hart, which is what's gotten me a lot of funny looks over the years. People assume that Canadian fans are like UK fans. It's like, oh, he's from our country, we're automatically going to get behind him. No. Much like in the Lita Trish Stratus feud, I was solidly behind Lita. In the Bret Hart Shawn Michaels feud, I was always behind Shawn Michaels. Always. Always. I always roll my eyes to this day when WWE comes to Canada and my fellow Canadians chant "You screwed Brett" at Shawn Michaels. I think it's absolute bullshit. But at the same time, because of their real life hatred, their rivalry was one of the best ever. Shawn Michaels, everything before WrestleMania 14 between Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold Steve Austin was fantastic. They were so polar opposite. It was friggin' phenomenal. What was the SummerSlam match? I want to say it was a Hell in the Cell, but I could be wrong because I'm shitty with dates. When Shawn Michaels went away for a long time and he had his comeback, sort of unsanctioned hardcore match against Triple H. I'm going to say that is one of them for sure. But, totally out of the blue, whatever year it was at WrestleMania, the year that it was Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle at WrestleMania. Lots and lots and lots of great, fantastic matches the Heartbreak Kid has given us over the years. It's impossible. It's impossible to pick one. I could pick one. I could pick Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle right now. You could come back and ask me tomorrow, what's your favorite Shawn Michaels match? I will say Shawn Michaels versus Triple H. Come back the next day, I will say Shawn Michaels versus, I don't know, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels. I would have loved a long, drawn-out feud between Shawn Michaels and The Rock. That is one of the biggest missed opportunities in the history of wrestling. What are your thoughts on Batista's latest run? Would you have done anything differently? It's very lackluster. Very, very, very lackluster. He didn't do anything intrinsically good for himself or for his character, but ultimately, he didn't really take anything either. He didn't bury anybody. He did win the Royal Rumble, which pissed a lot of people off because it wasn't Daniel Bryan. Build a bridge and get over it. But other than that, he got his ass handed to him on SmackDown a lot. He got jobbed out to Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania, and he, along with the rest of Evolution, which includes Randy Orton and Triple H, put over the Shield. 2 months in a row. 2 months on the bounce. These three guys that apparently never put anybody over, put the Shield over. Twice. In convincing and violent fashion. So yeah. If you could change 3 things about the current WWE product, who would they be? Or what would they be? Change the writers, get rid of the PG rating, and obviously included in that would be, include the odd, headshot, if we can do it safely. Take Sheamus, The Big Show, John Cena, Rey Mysterio, and yes, I'll even say my boy Randy Orton, send all 5 of them away for 6 months and let the rest of the roster breathe. Don't fire them. Don't, future endeavor them. I don't want them all to die. This is not a thing. But just send them away for 6 months. Let the rest of the roster breathe. Because when the new guys show what they can do, not only do they get a chance to shine, but these guys that have been carrying the reins for a long-ass time can breathe, can relax, maybe take some time off, maybe do some family shit. Maybe, John can go bang Nikki Bella or whatever the hell he's going to do. Sheamus can go make love to a glass of milk. Whatever. Anyways, thank you, Abel. Great questions. James Edward Russell, who cannot ask me a question without it being in paragraph form. Past or present, 10 dream opponents that you would give for Cena at WrestleMania. Oh, dear Lord. Past WrestleManias are allowed, and Hogan should be included, brother, as he has to be one of the opponents that Cena has never faced at the Showcase of the Immortals. Choose carefully. Oh, man. I would love to see Hulk Hogan come in and just drop a leg on Cena and walk out. Let's see. Austin. Shawn Michaels again. Bray Wyatt again. Sure, why not? Roman Reigns. The Undertaker. It's going to happen eventually, and there's no chance of him getting the streak now. Have him, if Edge was healthy, have him revamp his rivalry with Edge. Let him have one more go at Batista. I think that's 10. With TNA flushing its entire company down the shitter and possibly not surviving very much longer, do you think Global Force Wrestling, Jeff Jarrett's new company, will be a good source of ammunition and be competition for WWE, especially with the departure of some TNA talents? A lot of the departing TNA talents have already ended up back in ROH, and I don't know a single scrap of information about Jeff Jarrett's new company yet, so it would be really unfair for me to comment on it when I really don't know. The Zohan asks me, what's your favorite video that you've ever made? I want to say Scenepocalypse, only because I sat there with a notebook and laughed as I was writing the notes for that video. I wrote it. For those of you that haven't seen it, go back. There is a video on this channel called Scenepocalypse, the top 50 reasons why John Cena is killing professional wrestling. I wrote those 50 reasons in less than 20 minutes. In less than 20 minutes. I think it's, for the one thing, I mean, I'm pretty casual when I do these Q&As with you guys. Obviously, I'm sitting here, you know, I'm congested as fuck. I sound like death. I'm sitting here sipping on a drink slowly. But I think I literally ate my dinner while I filmed Scenepocalypse. I think I sat here with a plate of spicy chicken, if I'm not mistaken. And I was just casually ranting about John Cena, and it was the most, I think it was the most natural video I've ever done, if I'm honest. Collabs that I've done have been great. John of TwitWow, before he, you know, went to the dark side. A lot of guys, John, Preston, Alex, that I've collaborated with over the years, Kara, Angela. I've even gotten a chance to collaborate with NJ from the British Fist at one point. The one thing I will say is the series that I really started to get off the ground with STEPHIE Sunshine, which was known as the No Holds Barred Show, which actually branched out onto a separate channel, which subsequently had to be deleted because of personal reasons on both of our parts, and neither of us had the time and couldn't make times work, and life got in the way, and the No Holds Barred Show never really got a chance to be a thing. There's 1 or 2 episodes left on this channel. Go back, listen to them. They were a lot of fun. Steph's great. She really is. If we ever get to a point where we have the time and we can get together on doing those again, I would love to do those again. So, you know, those of you that know her on Facebook and Twitter and whatever can poke at her and be like, hey, when's the No Holds Barred Show coming back? Like James does. James. My buddy James, Fear the Spear 1990, go check him out. I like doing this series that I'm doing now, this Ask the Phoenix thing. You guys have responded tremendously to. Also, the Road Signs, which is the series I do from New Year's Day till WrestleMania, is usually received pretty well. Anything that breaks the mold, because I know for a long time I was very formulaic on this channel. I did my Raw review. If I had another topical video to do, I would spit it out randomly, and then I would do my pay-per-view review, but that was pretty much it. It was like review Raw, review the pay-per-view, review Raw, review the pay-per-view. Anything that kind of breaks that mold, like the stuff I've done on Daniel Bryan in the past little while, is just me more spitting off the top of my head. The videos that I've done recently on who could be a champion, who could be a tag team champion, stuff like that, where it's not just, hey, this happened on Raw, and this is what I think of it, and blah, 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 blah. So, as much as I like establishing my mold, I like breaking it as well. Right now, currently, the favorite thing that I do on this channel is this Q&A that you're watching right now. So, thanks for that. Now, Cheney815 has sent me 10 questions, but starts it off with congratulations on becoming an uncle. Cheers for that. I announced at the beginning of my last Q&A that I just became an uncle. My little nephew Jackson is a rock star, obviously, because he's related to me. Do you think the Superstar initiative from ECW, the ECW brand in 2009 should have applied to all 3 shows? No, because the ECW brand of WWE back in 2009 wasn't ECW. The ECW brand in 2009 was basically NXT. It was what they used to introduce all their new stars. So that's what set it apart. If you started introducing new stars on all the shows, they would have lost that that talent farm element. So no, I think they did it right, and I think they expanding it into what NXT now is was the right move to do, obviously. What are your top 5 submission holds from any wrestler? I love the figure 4. Anything to do with the person being on their chest and you wrenching on the legs, whether it's a cloverleaf, whether it's a Boston Crab, whether it's a proper Walls of Jericho, whether it's a sharpshooter or a Scorpion Deathlock, however you want to call it. Anything where you're suspended, like the most beautiful submission move in wrestling right now is the PTO. the page tap out, which is that modified Scorpion crosslock. I've never really been a fan of chokes. Chokes always look fake to me. Things like the Taz mission, things like anything along those lines. Things that look simple sometimes, like a full Nelson, the Master Lock from Chris Masters, who we're going to talk about in a moment. The simpler they are, how can I say this properly without sounding like I'm talking in circles? The easier a move is to look at and have me interpret how it would feel, the more effective it is for me to watch. So if I watch something like the Master Lock, oh, I go to try and put my arms back this way. Oh, that's not comfortable. I can imagine somebody cranking on that. So if you've got some really big, complex, twist somebody up into a pretzel kind of move, yeah, it looks impressive on the one hand because they're a pretzel, but you don't. It's harder to imagine what the pain actually is. Truth be told, when I was younger, at first, when I saw the figure 4 for the first time, because it wasn't done by Ric Flair or Jeff Jarrett, it was done by somebody random, I was like, how's that meant to hurt? And then one of my other friends that watched wrestling that had done it to people did it to me, and it hurts like a bitch when applied properly. Would you rather see Rey Mysterio powerbomb the Big Show or the Big Show land a shooting star press on Rey Mysterio? Shooting star press on Rey Mysterio. Squish him right through the fucking mat. Oh, yes. Do you think Adam Rose and Fandango should form a Hardy MVP-like team and go for the Tag Team Championships? Assume that they would have a feud similar to the previously announced team. The Matt Hardy MVP thing was always weird, because I don't remember who was the heel in that situation, if I'm honest. I remember it happening, but I don't remember who was the heel. But whoever was the heel never wanted to have a match. They always wanted to compete some other kind of way. I remember them shooting baskets in the entranceway, and that type of thing. And then one of them was talking to Teddy Long and said, I could win the Tag Team Champions with anybody that comes through that door. And they had, the Odd Couple tag team, which is always... It's an interesting story, because you go into every single match, you're like, oh, are they going to get along? Are they going to get along? So the story no longer becomes them versus their opponent. It becomes how well they get along. And I think in the process, your opponent can get kind of buried in that situation, because they're not given prevalence and focus. But at the same time, it makes the crowd entirely pay attention to the unity of that thrown together team. That's a ramble, but do I think Adam Rose and Fandango could do it? I don't know why they would. I don't know. I mean, I created a tag team called Dance Dance Revolution on WWE 2K14 because I'm a nerd, and it's Fandango and R-Truth. So I really shouldn't say anything about who you want to tag up with who. I think Adam Rose, because he's just joined the WWE, should be allowed to stand on his own and establish his wacky, sort of carefree, raver, hippie character before you try to team him with anybody. It's not an odd couple if we only know one of the characters, is what I'll say to that. Job 2, team with or bury, Canadian edition. Bret Hart, Edge, and Chris Jericho. I would bury Bret Hart. I would team up with my hometown boy Edge, and I would have no problem jobbing to Chris Jericho, because Chris Jericho loses enough as it is. I would not mind giving him a win in his W column. What are your thoughts on the Mexicools? The Mexicools were very entertaining, on the one hand. On the other hand, they were another example of how WWE kind of squashed and made less relevant anything that wasn't created by them. I would have loved to see all three of those guys come in strong as they were in the proper cruiserweight division of WCW. They could have been megastars if given the parameters of a light heavyweight division. They could have been the rock stars of their division. Instead, they became a comedy act. They were a very good comedy act, and they were still fantastic in the ring. So I was amused by them. I was entertained by them, not as much as I could have been if they were used to their full potential. Groups like this set the precedent for groups like 3MB. Drew McIntyre is a great wrestler. Heath Slater even is an okay wrestler. Jinder Mahal, if you were watching NXT, when they created the NXT Championship, the finals were between Seth Rollins and Jinder Mahal. And anybody that has seen that tournament final match knows that Jinder Mahal, given the proper context, can put on a fantastic match. You take three fantastic wrestlers and put them in a comedy group, that's never going to shine through, or very rarely anyway. I think the same thing can be said for the Mexicools. They're entertaining, but it was unfortunate. Of the following four, who do you think had the best entrance at WrestleMania 30? Triple H, Bray Wyatt, Undertaker, or Randy Orton? Undertaker's entrance this year, it was an interesting concept with the 20 caskets of his 20 victims and like setting the last one on fire because it was for Brock Lesnar and it was waiting for him and all. It wasn't nearly as impressive as some of the other entrances that he's had. Triple H having sort of like that skull entrance with the armor and all that is becoming kind of cliche at the past couple of WrestleMania, so that really didn't stick out either. Randy Orton, his entrance was cool. I will always give time to an entrance that has live music, even if it's something dumb like Flow Rider and MGK for Cena and The Rock. It still adds an element. So is it Downstate or Rev Theory that does Orton's theme? Having him be played to the ring live, never going to complain about that. But the creepy aspects and all the additional aspects to the not only the live music but the sword juggling chick and the fire juggling chick, and just the way even the band was in character. Bray Wyatt by far, and yes, I'm including The Undertaker in this, Bray Wyatt by far the best entrance at WrestleMania 30. They put the most effort into it. You can tell. With Undertaker, they had a great idea that they didn't put much effort into. Triple H took his silver armor from a couple years ago and painted it gold. And Randy Orton, they threw him out there with a live band, which, as I said, is always great. And I always like to see the live bands playing the wrestlers out. It's a really cool effect and atmosphere to create. But Bray Wyatt's entrance by a country mile. Speaking of Mania entrances, who are your top Mania entrances of all time? Was it WrestleMania 9 when they were in Caesar's Palace and everybody was Greek and everybody was kind of coming in on elephants and dressed in the Greek attire? I think anybody that came down at that WrestleMania was pretty cool. I do hate to admit it, but the year that John Cena came out and he had like those two big long aisleways of Cena clones all doing this at once, that was a really neat effect. That could kind of be tied with when he had his gangster entrance, like the old school gangsters with the Tommy guns, and you realize later on that one of them was CM Punk. So that'd be kind of tied for one spot. The other one I could say would be Undertaker's a given. Undertaker is just a given. Yeah, any of those. They always do pull out all the stops for WrestleMania. Rey Mysterio, as much as I've had a lot to say about in the past couple of years, the fact that he always has the comic book themed attires and whatnot. The one year he came out, played to the ring live by POD, and he had the big gigantic bird headdress on. They've done a lot of really cool things. When Shawn Michaels fought The Undertaker and he ascended from the ceiling, it was all in white before they got into his actual entrance music. Fantastic. I could go on for days. Entrances, not counting The Undertaker because it should have already happened. Who do you think should go into the Hall of Fame before they retire? That's interesting. Before they retire. Nobody that's in WWE right now, really. Maybe The Rock, but I don't know if The Rock's gonna perform again or not. Like, The Rock's going in soon. The Rock's going in very soon. Triple H? Maybe? Triple H is going to the Hall of Fame, guys. Triple H, I'm going to go on a tangent for a minute. Triple H is going to beat out Ric Flair because Triple H is going to go in with a record-breaking 3 Hall of Fame rings, is my guess. Because he's going to be inducted on his own merits, which he should. DX is going to be inducted, which they should. And this one's a little more controversial because I don't know whether I agree with it or not, but I'm pretty sure Evolution is going to go in. So Triple H, actually, no, that would make him tied with Ric Flair because that would mean Ric Flair would get another ring too. Ric Flair and Triple H are going to potentially have 3 Hall of Fame rings each. That's ridiculous. What are your thoughts on Chris the Masterpiece Masters? Big guy, great shape. I like the Master Lock Challenge. It gave him something that was specifically his, kind of like the Angle Challenge. He moved around pretty good from what I remember, for a guy his size, and he was athletic enough, whatever, they didn't give him much of a character. He's just, here's this strong guy that looks like a statue and comes out and poses like a statue. He was impressive in the ring, but other than that, I had no reason to care, which is unfortunate, because I think if they had given me a reason to care about his character, I think he could have done great things. I think he could have done a lot more than, say, somebody like Ryback is doing right now. Excuse me, guys. Drinking pop will do that to you. Thanks for reading. Thank you, Cheney. The Zohan, with his plethora of questions. Oh, yes. With Kane, The Big Show, and The Undertaker almost done wrestling, is there going to be a lack of big guys in the WWE, or are you a fan of quicker cruiserweight style? There's two different questions there, really. You guys that have been watching me for a long time know that I'm not a fan of big guy wrestlers, and know that I'm a fan of the high-flying, the spot fests, you know, Hardy Boys, etc., etc., etc. With that being said, I don't think you're ever going to really run out of big guy wrestlers. There's always going to be those mountains to climb. I mean, no, like, Big Show, Undertaker, Kane are giants among men. And that's not just a cliche. It's very, very true. But you've got guys like Rusev, you've got, as much as I like the Ascension, I don't know which one is which, but the taller, more built member of the Ascension. You've got guys like Rowan and Harper, who could eventually spin off and do their own things if they ever leave Wyatt. In TNA, you've got Matt Morgan, who kind of goes in and out. You've got Abyss, who kind of goes in and out. You got, I don't know who he wrestles for right now, but I know Rob Terry's still floating around somewhere. Wrestling is never going to have a shortage of big guys, because there's always going to be that element of spectacle. Now, by all means, in this day and age, you don't need to be a giant to be a wrestler, for sure. But there's always going to be that element of, holy crap, that guy could kill me. And when you're watching a match like that, when you're watching a match like, say, what's a feud that I never really cared about? Oh, Mark Henry versus The Big Show, for example. Now, are they going to have a great wrestling match? Hell no. What they are going to do is they are going to put on a Godzilla versus King Kong, indestructible force versus the immovable object, whatever cliche you want to throw on it, spectacle. When you see two guys that size climb to the top rope and throw each other to the ground with enough force that they break the structure of the ring, it's not a match, but it's no longer about a match. It's about, what the fuck did I just see? And as much as I don't like big man matches, when they get to that much of a spectacle, I can appreciate it then, at that point, for what it is. So, yes, I'm a fan of high flyers. No, I don't particularly care about big man wrestlers, but no, we're not going to run out of big guy wrestlers anytime soon. Do you think the prestige of the Money in the Bank briefcase has gone down with both John Cena and Damien Sandow cashing in and not winning the title? Quite the opposite, actually. Especially with John Cena, because everybody's sick of John Cena winning the title, and we don't want Money in the Bank to fall into that category of, oh, it's just one more bullshit way John Cena won the title. But also, when they used to say, when they were hyping up Money in the Bank, they're like, every single person that's won that briefcase has gone on to be a champion. Then, if that's the case, and if that's the case moving forward, then it's a foregone conclusion whenever that match ends up happening. Now, I want, you know, whoever wins Money in the Bank, say it's Dean Ambrose this Sunday, I want to believe that Dean Ambrose is going to cash in on somebody and he's going to win. Ultimately, yes, I do. But I want to know that there's a chance that he won't, so that when he does, I can celebrate that as a victory, and it's not just a special foregone conclusion match. So as much as I didn't like Sandow losing, and as much as I hate giving John Cena credit in general, both of them losing their cash-in matches has served a great purpose for the history of that particular distinction. Who would be in your NWO from TNA invading the WWE? Rude, Storm, Samoa Joe, Aries, and Willow. For starters, and then they bring over more people as they felt like it. Bring over Velvet Sky versus AJ Lee, please. saying? Who did you want to challenge the streak that never did? Ultimately, if the streak hadn't been lost this year, I was praying that it would be Wyatt next year. Promos and imagery alone between The Undertaker and Bray Wyatt would have been fucking phenomenal. Do you believe? Yes. And I will not stop believing. Anyways, not singing. I promise you guys that. You don't have to worry. Does The Rock wrestle again or go into the Hall of Fame? He very well could do both. He could pull a Flair and go in next year and still have a match, which would piss off a lot of people, but whatever. Now this question, I read this question when it came up in my email initially. If you could mix two current WWE wrestlers into one person, who would they be? My initial answer to this was Jeff Hardy versus CM Punk, which doesn't work because neither one of them is in the company right now. So I'm going to say Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler. I think that NXT is an awesome show, and the NXT superstars would definitely hold their own with a lot of the current WWE superstars on the main roster. Who do you say makes it to the main roster first? Sami Zayn, Adrian Neville, and Tyler Breeze. I don't say any of them. I honestly want Graves to go up first, but the problem with all four of those guys is they're all small guys, and WWE doesn't have a cruiserweight division. So what do you do with them? It's really unfortunate. A lot of the talents that are coming up through NXT that I really like are all smaller, faster guys, and I'm sorry, are they going to book somebody like Corey Graves to go over Wade Barrett the way he's going right now? More to the point, are they ever going to have Corey Graves beat John Cena? It's not going to happen. Are they ever going to have Corey Graves or Adrian Neville beat somebody like Sheamus or The Big Show? It's probably not going to happen. Just saying. Of the three you've mentioned, honestly, Tyler Breeze, because he's a great heel, and I think he's cocky as fuck and it works. I think, to the previous question up above about who would tag team up with Fandango, I think if you were going to give Fandango a tag team partner, there's Tyler Breeze. But my personal answer isn't any of those three. My personal answer is Corey Graves. Sorry, man. If John Cena never existed, who would have been the face of the company all this time? Randy Orton, Batista, or Brock Lesnar, or somebody else that never got the chance? I hate to say it, but it probably would have been Brock Lesnar. Would the hardcore division be good in today's WWE landscape, or would it be all watered down and PG-ified? I want that to become a term now, PG-ified. You can't do anything hardcore in the PG era. You really can't. The worst you can do is hit somebody in the back with something, and even if somebody accidentally bleeds, they purposely film away from the blood. So no. As entertaining as the Hardcore Championship was, you just couldn't do it these days. Michael Stolt sent me, and I really hope I'm saying that properly. I'm not trying to mock you, I promise. I just genuinely cannot pronounce people's names for shit. Do you think the WWE will take down the WWE Network? I hadn't heard that. Is that a rumor? Are they losing that much money on pay-per-views? I don't see any reason why they would. When I was down in the States hanging out with Steffi Sunshine over WrestleMania weekend, I got a lot of chance to play around on the WWE Network, and I think it's fantastic for what my 2 cents, in my opinion, is worth. I don't know why they would. Could Wade Barrett be a future world champion? Yeah, if they keep him on the trajectory that he's on right now, the amazing match that he had this week on Raw, the way that the bullhammer elbow is getting the RKO treatment, it's like quick, it's sudden, it could strike out of nowhere, you can get it from any point of view, etc. I think it could happen. I think it will happen as soon as that layer of John Cena, Randy Orton, Sheamus, Big Show leaves the WWE. I think he's a prime candidate for a WWE World Heavyweight Championship. If you could compare someone to Razor Ramon, okay, if you could compare, this is not phrased very well, I'm sorry. I think what you're saying is, if there was a Razor Ramon of today, who do you think it would be? Not character-wise, but I'd say Fandango, because Johnny Curtis still has that underlying little bit of creepiness to him, and as much as, you know, Razor Ramon was charismatic and he was the ladies' man and he was oozing machismo, there was a creepy element to Razor Ramon that was never really acknowledged, but it was definitely there. So I say Fandango, as much as people are not going to like that answer. Not a question, but I mostly agree with everything you say about Daniel Bryan. WWE has the perfect chance to make him the next Cena once Cena leaves, and it's a damn shame. I don't know what you mean by that. Now, when you say make him the next Cena, do you mean make him the face of the company, or keep giving him John Cena booking like they've been doing this year? If you want to specify what you mean by that, by all means do it, but I'm not quite sure what you mean, and I'm not even sure that that's a question. Sorry. Who's a better female wrestler overall? Gail Kim, Mickie James, AJ, or Paige? Paige, it's far too early to tell. AJ, as far as me watching her in matches, I still don't think we've seen AJ Lee hit her prime yet. Mickie James, I was a hell of a lot more invested in as a character, but Gail Kim, if we're talking about strictly in-ring work, Gail Kim owns them all. Gail Kim owns them all. Chances of a feud between Bray Wyatt and Bo Dallas. I think that goes directly hand in hand with if they ever acknowledge that these two are brothers. If they ever acknowledge that these two are brothers, the negativity of Bray Wyatt and the bullshit positivity of Bo Dallas, you've got a story that's practically writing itself. But if you don't make that connection, I don't think it's ever going to happen. Thoughts on Kevin Steen signing with the WWE? Could he end up being anybody, or will WWE just misuse him? Now, I don't watch ROH. I watched one episode of ROH when I heard they got a TV deal. I thought, okay, third option. I wasn't impressed. I didn't watch it, and there's other things going on for me on a Sunday, like WWE pay-per-views, or The Walking Dead, or True Blood, other things that I would just rather watch. That being said, I heard that ROH had their first actual pay-per-view this past weekend, so I ordered it. I ordered it. Alex Preston, I ordered it. I paid for it, because I don't like to steal things. I know you guys are on a big high horse about how you should be able to steal everything, but I ordered the pay-per-view, and I saw Kevin Steen's match, and granted I'm making this assumption off of one match. The guy moves pretty crazily for a big guy. He sells like a motherfucker, and I really, really like his running cannonball type maneuver that he does in the corner. To do a maneuver like that and be a guy this size, you have to do it in such a way that you convince the crowd you want to hurt your opponent so badly you don't care where your body lands. And especially for somebody that big to go upside down with that mindset, it was pretty impressive. For seeing him in one match, and again, I will admit my shortcomings, I'm making all these judgments on one match. For what I saw in that match against Silas Young, I think, Burt Reynolds looking motherfucker, who didn't impress me very much at all. If he's coming to WWE, I'm all for it. I'll give him the same open eyes that I give everybody else. Greatest finisher of the Ruthless Aggression era, 2002 versus 2007. Regardless of the era, other than like super high-flying moves, because you guys know I'm a Hardy fan, etc., 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 my favorite move, as far as just looking at it and going, ooh, one of my favorite moves of all time has always been the pedigree. Not just because I'm a Triple H fan, and I am, but because the way it's set up, you are in a helpless prone position with no real way to sit up unless that's how you're showing your strength in the match, and that does happen. You are in a helpless position. Your hands are trapped behind you, and you're falling not on your head, but on your actual face. Like, okay, yes, top of your head would hurt. Top of your head, okay, it's flat, it's round, whatever, you have the danger of a concussion, whatever. I understand that. I'm not downplaying that whatsoever. But there's a lot of little things that you can fuck up in your face, and you are being dropped completely unprotected with all the force of your opponent, all the weight of your opponent, and all your own weight on your face. Love the pedigree. Love the pedigree. Now, with that being said, because the wrestlers do have to protect themselves when they take it, pedigree is one of those moves that really looks sloppy a lot of the time. And again, not a dig at Triple H, it's just my opinion. But it's one of those moves that because of how it's done and because the wrestlers have to protect themselves, it does look sloppy a lot of the time. It's one of those moves you can't do to certain people, it just looks dumb. For example, you try to do it to the Great Khali or the Big Show, for example. It looks dumb because they're just too big to do it. But pedigree is a dirty move when it's done properly. Would wrestling be different if McMahon had gone to jail for the steroid trials in the mid-90s? WWE is a force. Somebody else would have taken over. McMahon would have controlled it from jail. WWE would not have fallen. I don't think. We might not be exactly where we are right now, but it wouldn't be that far off. You want my honest opinion? What is the worst return in WWE history? Any given return by Christian. Just saying. What is the best wrestling t-shirt of all time? I'm not wearing it right now. My bad. Thought I was wearing one of my CM Punk shirts. I like every single t-shirt that CM Punk has come out with. That being said, I like most of the t-shirts that Jeff Hardy has come out with. Now, my own bias aside, you want to talk about a successful, iconic piece of clothing, there is only one you can mention, and it's not DX, and it's not Hulkamania, and it's not, you know, brother, 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 and it's not woo, and it's not if you smell. It's one shirt. It is the original Smoking Skull Austin 316 shirt. Back in the day, when it was relevant, when it was current, and in the context of the modern day, that shirt was everywhere. That shirt was at least 50% of the crowd when you were at a show or when you were watching a show on TV. That was the shirt that you saw people walking around with, whether they were kids, fathers, grandfathers. That was the shirt you saw walking around the malls when you went shopping. That was the shirt that you saw walking up and down the roads. That was the wrestling shirt. A close second would be the NWO, and a distant third would be the initial gray DX shirt, but the Austin 316 Smoking Skull original shirt is the best. What would have happened if ECW had gone out of business when they did? Would they still be around today, or would something else have happened? If they hadn't failed financially, they would be failing now because the world is completely pussified. Across the board. Music, movies, TV, wrestling, the entire world is pussified these days. If you want me to get into greater detail on why I think the world is pussified, put it down in the box below. I'll do a video on it later, because it's not going to be a wrestling video, I'll promise you that. What are your thoughts on a barbed wire steel cage match between JBL and the Big Show, and would you like to see it again for the WWE title? Again, you're not going to see barbed wire used properly in this day and age by WWE, because if you bleed, the camera's going to be on something else. It is what it is. Best WWE title design of all time would be the Winged Eagle, and if you want to go on to the personalized belts, the Smoking Skull. Who are the top 5 worst ever World Heavyweight Champions? David Arquette. I'm going to include Vince McMahon winning the ECW title in this. Jack Swagger. Sheamus. I can't even say John Cena, but whatever. And I'm going to include Dolph Ziggler in this list, not because I don't think he deserves to be champion, but because each time WWE has teased him with a title run, they've taken it off him again just as quickly. So I don't think that the title has done Ziggler any good, or has done Ziggler any justice when he's held it. So that's a bad run. That's not a bad run for the title, that's a bad run for Ziggler. So there's the 5. Ziggler, Swagger, Sheamus, David Arquette, and Vince McMahon. Oh yes. There is an article on the WWE's column in Bleacher Report called "The 10 Random Questions WWE Doesn't Want You to Ask." I think it would be pretty cool if you'd give your answers to these questions. 1. Why did Nails wear his prison suit when he claimed to be innocent? Now, what I remember of Nails, he was an inmate that was supposedly imprisoned by the Big Boss Man. Now, I don't care how innocent you say you are. I watch a lot of Prison Break, I watch a lot of Orange is the New Black, etc., etc., etc. Doesn't matter how innocent you are. If you are in jail, if you have been imprisoned, you are going to wear the prison getup. It's not like you get to. It's not like it's Casual Friday, and it's not like you get to choose your own clothes because you say you're innocent. So that kind of follows. Why doesn't Kane use his firepower in his matches? Because the WWE doesn't want to hire a burn unit, and it would be cartoony and bullshit. And the fire is part of his entrance. I think the fire isn't. Kane doesn't shoot fire, or at least that's not the way I look at it. It's like wrestling entrance music. The superstars don't, and this is going to go into the next question as well, these superstars don't go flick a switch before they enter because, hey, I want to come out to this cool music. The music almost exists in a world outside the wrestler. The music exists in the ears of the fans, much like the background music in a movie. If there's really, really hyped up background music in a movie, the characters in the movie don't hear it. They're oblivious to it. it's the music and any pyro they use and whatever else is a harbinger of your star coming out to the ring. It's symbolic of their impact on your viewing. That, you know, you're watching the show or whatever, your star's not there, your star's there, not there, your star's not there. Boom! Now your star is here. I don't think the fire of Kane or the pyro of anybody else for that matter is a literal thing that WWE wants you to think is caused by them. I mean, yes, there were the stories back in the day, Undertaker versus Kane, where they were shooting lightning at each other and da-da-da, and that was very cartoony and very comic booky because you had two characters with similar quote-unquote powers. But, I mean, I don't think you can play that out with Kane fighting quote-unquote regular people. And this goes into it again. If the Shield always enters as a surprise to the crowd, who always plays their entrance music? Again, the music is just a harbinger of them arriving. It's not a literal, like, hey, play my music. Why does a superplex not hurt more than an attitude adjustment? Because John Cena? But in all seriousness, it's all in the perception WWE wants you to have. A superplex is not a finishing move. The attitude adjustment is the end of the world. You know, it's the same as why can people, you know, feel that part of your elbow right there. That part of your elbow is a lot harder than your fist. Why can people get up from a bullhammer elbow but they're knocked out by one punch from the Big Show? Especially with Big Show's hand being as big as it is, there's a lot of flesh there to break the, I don't want to say to break the fall, but to break the impact. Whereas there's, guys, touch your elbow there. There's not much break in that. Why do wrestlers always take the monitors out of the announce table before driving somebody through it? Are they afraid of hurting somebody? Are they afraid of hurting the person they're supposed to be beating the crap out of? Now, non-kayfabe, obviously, WWE doesn't want to keep paying for new monitors. Kayfabe-wise, the only reason I guess they could possibly pull out would be, hey, they're about to destroy that table, but they want to make those monitors available in case they want another weapon. I mean, you want to put somebody through a table. If I was going to put somebody through a table, I think the ultimate next thing to do would be to pick up something heavy and drop it on their face. Now, what's to say if you put the person through that table and the monitor was still stuck in the table that the monitor wouldn't get stuck in the broken pieces of the table, or even more to the point that the monitor wouldn't be under that person's body or under the table. That's one reasoning that the commentators could play up on if they want to, but realistically we know it's because WWE doesn't want to break the monitors. It is what it is. And I will save the Zohan's last question for 1 minute. Guys, this has been the Q&A. This has been the Q&A. You guys have been fantastic. All you guys that keep coming back, all the same familiar faces, all the same familiar names that have supported me all this time, please come back next month. Put your questions down in the box below in the comment section of this video for July's Q&A. Also, like I said, for you guys that have been watching it forever, when did you start watching me? How did you find me, and where are you from? If you want to share. If you don't, totally fine. So, to cap off with the Zohan's last question, what is the greatest catchphrase of all time? The greatest catchphrase of all time is, I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check, and this has been Ask the Phoenix. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going, put questions down for July. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, this guy with no voice left is tagging out. Bye, guys.